Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings on planet Earth. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Sorry I've been missing for a couple of days. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background with me and Graham at the moment. Absolutely nothing to do with YouTube, and not a problem. But I'm back today because we've been really busy, but we watch Trevor all the time and Sue. I haven't seen Sue yet this morning. But Graham put Trevor on, and I have been so busy I hadn't seen the news that Spotify and Megan have mutually agreed to part company. Now, this is really interesting, and I want to do justice to the way Trevor did his video, because as I was watching it, I thought I couldn't say it better. So I'm going to put a link to Trevor's video just in case anybody out there has not seen Trevor or doesn't know who he is, because I think he sums it up perfectly. And for me, it feels as if a reign of terror on the internet is coming to an end. I was talking to Graham about that this morning after watching Trevor's video, about the last couple of years have really, well, even longer than that, have really felt like a reign of terror. Once again, I still haven't heard anything from Wally. I'm sure she's fine, but I will never forget her, because I not only saw firsthand, like you guys did, the level of bullying online from Christopher Boozy, but also behind the scenes as well. It was a very real thing, to quote Megan, for her to be going through. And I saw others. Trevor, of course, he's a tough guy, but all the same, there have been challenges. Sue Smith, who was doxed by Christopher Boozy, horribly doxed, said, oh, this is her real name, this is where she works, this is who her son is, oh, her son has a certain medical condition, you know, la 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 la. This is the same person that Harry and Meghan chose to feature on their Netflix show that they had full editorial control over. They made no apologies for it, and they cannot come back and say, well, we didn't know he was like that. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. And there were other YouTubers. I'm not going to name her because she's passed on now. But you all know who I'm talking about. Someone's house was set fire to, and I do believe that could have been a crazed fan who was influenced by an influencer. There are other YouTubers who are on their 5th or 6th channels after having been taken down. There are people who used to work, or maybe still work, at YouTube, who used to support this woman. And bit by bit, the world has become to realise how awful she is. And that there has been a reign of terror on the internet. And this Spotify, finally, praise the Lord, have realised and not believed her robots. Because I could go out tomorrow, I could go out today, and I could spend $10 and buy 5,000 robots to say, oh, Fiona, oh, thou shalt worship Fiona, oh, and attack anybody who doesn't. But I wouldn't do that, because I'm not like Meghan Markle. But that's what I believe she did. That is my opinion, that she or her PR people, Sunshine Sachs, have run bot farms and troll farms being real people who live in an impoverished society, maybe in a third world country, who will sit on the internet spewing vile or whatever script they're given. I feel it's coming to an end. Now, this video is going to be a bit different because it's going to be edited a bit together, because yesterday I did make a video, but you'll see I was rushing around Gibraltar and I watched it in the evening, and I just said to Graham, I just can't bang that up all on its own. It's quite messy. I watched that they do parades and stuff in Gibraltar a lot, and they were doing a parade yesterday for the Trooping of the Colour, and I thought it was a changeover of the governor. I really didn't know. I just happened to be near casemates, and they started doing this, and it was just so spectacular and lovely. So there's going to be a bit of that in there, where they do God Save the King, and it was amazing. And then they did this 21 gun salute, but I didn't have time to stay for all of the 21 guns. But also, I was doing a little bit of a tour of Gibraltar, and oddly enough, I mentioned Spotify, and I had not. I think this news has only just come out, and I have checked it to a certain extent. I've looked on the Archwell website. I couldn't find any press release announcement there. However, as you all know, I'm into PR. And different news media have different PR. Now, CNN is the type of news outlet that support Meghan Markle. They're very much her camp, and they have released the news that she has parted company with Spotify. So I believe it. If it were, for example, say the Daily Mail or the Mirror now, if they printed the story, because they're very much enemies, you know, they're on opposite sides, then I would be inclined to check it further. Do you see what I mean? So I go to, if I want to know if a news story's real or not, I think who's normally on their side, I'm going to go and look there. It's like we in the UK have something called Sky News, but there's another one called Sky News Australia. Sky News Australia generally are our camp, but Sky News in the UK are generally, they tend to stick up for Meghan and Harry. So it's a case of getting a feel of where the money goes for the PR and to which news outlet, or some news outlets I don't think have PR, they just, you know, say it as it is. I also have to say a thank you to Naomi for bringing me the book on King Charles, as he was then Prince Charles. I lost the piece of paper with your mobile number in it, but I know that you do come to Gibraltar quite frequently. She's one of our team here, she's one of the community here, but she does fly over to Gib for various reasons, and she pops into the Dolphin Safari office to say hello. So thank you very much for that. So what this statement in CNN says is that they've mutually parted company. I interpret that as damage limitation. I interpret that very much as Trevor said. There is no way she was beating Joe Rogan's numbers. No way. Even Joe Rogan, I saw him do a video go, well, I'm number 2, what? On Spotify? I'm what? Next to who? And he just laughed. He just laughed and laughed. And Trevor's right. Was Spotify fudging the figures? If so, I mean, that's going to cause trust issues with their own customers. Their customers are going to think, well, hang on. It's like the bench. Wasn't the bench number 1? Do we even hear about the joy of the boy on the bench? Do we hear anything about that? Nobel Peace Prize winning poetry and literature. No, we don't hear a word about that. What about 40 by 40 something? Do we hear anything about that these days? I don't think so. No, it all falls flat. Right, I've come inside because I want to show you something that Graham and I have kept in our toilet. Not literally in the pan, but in our bathroom on a top shelf gathering dust. And this is going to demonstrate to you where Harry and Meghan, at the beginning of the story, we could see clearly how it was going to end. Now this will be back to front unless Graham can reverse it. But look at that photograph. Just look at that photograph. That says it all, doesn't it? That really says it all. The date of this is Monday, March the 9th, 2020. There you go. And we thought we would keep a hard copy for posterity. You know, in certain world events, Graham kept front pages of newspapers on 9/11, well, the day after 9/11. And we keep these various things, but we never put this in a file. It wasn't important enough. We both just laughed and said, this is going to end in disaster. And we just folded it up and put it on the top shelf above the toilet. And no, we've never used any of the sheets as toilet paper. Bit scratchy. Actually, come to think of it, any of you guys remember the waterproof toilet paper, ISIL, they used to have in the 70s? Who invented that? Waterproof toilet paper. That was awful. Absolutely awful. You had to scrunch it up, and sometimes with a fold you could get a paper cut on your whoopsie. Anyway, so yes, I await an announcement from Netflix of the same, of them saying, we're not working with her anymore. We're not doing anymore. And if her career wasn't already over, if there were any straddlers left in Hollywood, for example, Tyler Perry, you know, beware, take note. the majority of the A-listers, the big studios, I don't see them clamouring. I don't hear Oprah sticking up for her anymore. I think it wasn't just the car chase in New York. It wasn't just South Park, although South Park was wonderful because it culminated, you know, when people say, oh, if you're not a racist, why don't you like Meghan? You've never met Meghan, you must be a racist. And there is just so much for people like me and you guys to explain that you feel lost. South Park condensed it all really into something extraordinarily amusing and just highlighted the problem, the elephant in the room. So, I mean, she seems to be silent. He's still wandering around, going to things on his own when they were joined at the hip before. Very interesting times, very, very interesting times. Well, I'll leave you with those thoughts. And I may be doing a few less videos over the next few weeks because, as I say, there is something going on in the background. It's nothing earth-shattering, and as I said, it's nothing to do with Meghan and Harry whatsoever. It's just that there's even less time than usual, unfortunately. And I love our chats in the mornings. I love our chats in the evenings. I love our pissed-up chats. So I will see you in the comments below. Thank you very much for listening. Right, well, you get the general idea. I think that's a 21 gun salute. I'm in a hurry, but they just happened to be doing that as I was popping into the chemist. So, that gives you a bit of an idea. They do this sort of thing all the time in Gibraltar. Whew. So, there you go. I think what's happening is, I think our current governor is signing out and the new governor's coming in. I think that's what that's all about. The governor here is effectively the king or the queen, depending on who the monarch is. So, and I think people, when it's a lady monarch, a queen, I think they have to call him ma'am, and curtsy to him and stuff. Anyway, I've got to get on. That was just a quick one. So, got the chemist, well, Holland and Barrett, waiting for it to open. So while I'm here in Gib, I thought you might like to see this here is the old wall, and where I'm walking would have been quite shallow sea once upon a time in the not too distant past, 1960s, something like that. And I will show you, they have reclaimed the sea, they've filled it in, and just look at some of the development. It's fantastic, actually. It's incredible. We're actually coming up to a building in a minute which is called Ocean Heights because it used to have a sea view but they've reclaimed so much of the land and they've carried on building out in that direction. They haven't got a sea view anymore at all. So it's ocean nothing of the sorts these days. And it's changed Gibraltar. Some parts of Gibraltar never change, like this, you know, this wall. And they're very good here at integrating the old city walls with the modern. They've just built a big school, and underneath its foundations you can still see where they would have all been fighting. So I thought I'd have a quick chat because I'm very much on the run today. I saw something in the Express that Daniela Elsa had written about Spotify and Netflix and their shares. Well, their shares aren't bombing, but the losses that they've had. I wonder what Spotify and Netflix have got in common. I'm not saying a word, but I would have thought it's bleeding obvious if you're in the entertainment industry and you give gazillions of dollars away to the most boring and least entertaining person on planet Earth. So, somebody bought her PR, didn't they, and lived to regret it. Oh no, you mean all those fans and sugars all along? They were just robots that were paid for? You can buy 5,000 of them for $10. Oh no. As the Spotify and Netflix directors take themselves out to shoot themselves. They fell for that one, didn't they? Big time. And this here, you can see that. Because I'm doing this on a phone, I'm not sure if you can see that. That's the American monument. And we have these cannons, you know, these sort of things. That's just concrete, actually, made in the shape of a cannon. But we do have lots of cannons and cannonballs and stuff like that. So I've got to walk to the other side of Gibraltar now to do something else. It's very much errands day today, and then I'll have a chance to look at your comments and the news and find out what certain people have been getting up to.